What's up, y'all? We are live. So, you have reached Dog Talk Tuesdays where we discuss the ways of man and dog. We are going to continue today in discussion with philosophies and thought processes when it comes to dogs, and the ownership of dogs and the husbandry of dogs, things like that. And then next week, we will get started on the processes, especially when it comes to breeding, because I know that's a huge thing with a lot of people, breeding and also temperament. But I did want to finish off this week with discussing a lot of the philosophies that are going into dogs, but also into bullies. Most of you know I came from working dogs, got into bullies probably about, I guess it's been about 7 to 10 years ago now. And yeah, about 8 to 10 years ago. But so we're going to discuss all things. A lot of you know that when it comes to these lives, this is like the second week I've done coming back. Once it gets back to where things were, you will get a lot of people on here that are very knowledgeable when it comes to dogs and from different breeds, pit bulls, band dogs, American bulldogs, etc. But for right now, looks like I froze for a second. But one, definitely make sure that you like, make sure that you subscribe, make sure that you comment just to let me know who you are and where you are from. So we kind of get an idea of things. But today we are going to touch on basically they're been hearing a lot about a third wave of the domestication of dogs. And I think this is the last thing I wanted to touch on before we get into a lot of the breeding strategies and training strategies and conditioning and nutrition, things like that. There was a article printed by The Atlantic. And before I go over to that, I want you guys to look at it. It was a post by Tone Roldan, posted today, where he showed a bunch of champions that are going to be at a show. And I want you guys to get a good look at that, along with, let's see here. It's moving a little slower now that I'm on the internet, now that I'm on the live. But I wanted you guys to get a good look at these dogs. Now, for us who are into, there it goes. Now, for those of us who are, most of these dogs look like they're pockets. You can see the extreme build and their features, things like that. I think most of us who breed XLs pretty much know, especially if you're watching lives, you're part of the giant XL American Bully Breed group, know that this is not necessarily the direction that we want the XL going in. But we haven't gotten anything from the bully community, especially the ABKC, saying that that's not the direction that we're headed. I do anticipate that at some point the ABKC will be, and hold on, let me put my earbud in. I do anticipate, let me know if you guys can hear me or can't hear me. But I do anticipate that at some point the ABKC will kind of start deciphering like other breeds do when it comes to their styles and the various classes within a breed, and start making exceptions for the larger dogs and the smaller dogs. Still the same look, but in breed type, but a general difference. But anyway, the Atlantic had printed an article regarding the third wave of the domestication of dogs. And so I wanted to read that to you guys. And I know a lot of you guys come in later and watch afterwards. Okay, great. Just making sure. Thanks a lot, Ginger. So I wanted to read that to you guys, kind of get your opinions of it. Again, you guys know last time we used to do these lives for like 3 hours. I'm not going to be able to do that anymore. But any questions, statements that you have regarding the actual topic at hand, we will definitely discuss that. If you have questions, that you have any breeding issues, any type of issues, you all know, put them in the comments. I'll get back to you. I'll respond to those questions within 24 hours in the comments. I know the last time I went live, the questions or the comments disappeared. I think I figured out what that was and that I need to click on it and then go to live comments. So I think I got that figured out, but I'll be checking on that after this. So if you have any questions, anything that you want that aren't related to today's topic, I will get to you on those questions, just not during the topic. And we're going to go from there. But so anyway, the article in the Atlantic stated that basically that we have a third wave of the domestication in dogs. I don't fully agree with it, but I'm going to read it to you guys. It says, not long ago, dogs were valued primarily for the jobs they perform, such as hunting, herding, livestock, guarding, blah, 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 blah. Then it says dogs have gone from working all day and sleeping outside to relaxing on the couch and sleeping in our beds. Thousands of years of domestication couldn't prepare dogs for the abrupt transition. Now, when it comes to the domestication, this is beyond thousands of years. We know that man has been breeding dogs for over 20,000 years. So, well over 20,000 years. And that's not just bringing them around the fire to us. That's actually breeding them, trading them, using them for different jobs and purposes. And then it says dog owners have attempted to correct for this. So it says dogs have gone from working all day, blah, blah, blah. Thousands of years of domestication couldn't prepare for the abrupt transition. Dog owners have attempted to correct for this by picking hypoallergenic breeds, a smart breed, a breed that is supposedly good with children, but the main thing a breed usually tells you is what your dog will look like. Service dogs are the exception and the answer to the domestication puzzle. So right here, we can tell you that this is somebody that's pushing, service type dogs, and not just pushing it for those who are in need of a service dog. But now it's getting a little rhetoric, a little propaganda behind it. Now they want to get their service dogs that they're probably breeding for out to the main public and make that the new thing. And that's the thing that you have to catch a lot of times when it comes to these, nuances and things. It says, for more than a century, service dogs have had to sit quietly in cafes, calmly negotiate the stress and noise of urban life, and interact gently with children. They can do this not because they are not because they are smarter than pet dogs, but because service dogs are uniquely friendly. Unlike most pet dogs, service dogs are attracted to strangers, such as puppies. And increasing friendliness seems to have changed these dogs' biology, just as it did thousands of years ago. It says, we believe that changes are the early. Hold on. Okay, so it says, we believe these changes are the early signs of a third wave in dog domestication. So basically, they're saying the first wave was us bringing them around the campfire. Then would actually been the first wave. They're saying the first wave was us having them as working dogs, then us having them as pets. And now they are going to migrate from that and into service dogs. So they say, we believe these changes are the early signs of a third wave in dog domestication. If dog lovers shift their demand from a dog's hair color and tail length to their comfort with strangers and new places, this friendliness could quickly ripple through the population and become amplified with each successive generation. A breeding program that prioritizes a friendly temperament could show results within just a few decades. In the meantime, as the third wave of domestication gets underway, humans must continue caring for the pets they have now. All right, so let me get back on the screen with you guys. And then I'm going to get into why I posted those pics. So when it comes to that statement, if you look at it, it says there's basically, now we know really waves of domestication with dogs first started with us bringing them from wild. I don't fully believe in that dogs came from wolves. I do feel there was another creature somewhere between that was closely related to wolves, but somewhere between the coyote, the wolf, the jackal, the wolf. You have wild dogs of Africa. There's something in between there that we found easier to relate to. For whatever reasons, we haven't been able to get coyotes the same way. We haven't been able to get wolves the same way. So I think there was another species that we had that was closely related. Even if you look at like dingoes, Carolina dogs in the Carolinas, the Guinea singing dog. These are wild dogs that resemble the dogs that we have today. So at some point, we gravitated from these dogs being around us and the campfire, and then helping us hunt, helping us herd, helping us guard. And then we migrated into the pet era. You know, around the time that we started really focusing on the purpose of the dogs, we started having, you know, gatherings where we would sell the dogs. And you figure probably about 200 years ago, where we would sell the dogs. And at that point, that was what kind of groomed the next phase, which was the show ring. And somebody then also decided, hey, you guys are keeping track of all your pedigrees and the dogs you bred to. I'll keep track of that myself for you guys. And next thing you know, you got the registries, you got the shows, and we got the pets become more popular. We are where we are today. And then all of a sudden, we took pets, non-working dogs, and started focusing dogs on service. And what they're trying to do in this conversation is basically say that the service dog is the next wave. This is basically, if you want to get ahead of the game as a breeder, this is what you should be breeding for. Obviously, by reading it, this is not something that's informative. It's a form of marketing for their program and those who have a program that is like theirs. They are breeding specifically for the service dog. I'm not breeding for service dogs, but I have dogs that can easily be used for servicing. King passed his servicing certificate, passed for his servicing certificate. So not necessarily a mal. I think you can't breed a greyhound for racing or a pit bull for hog catching, and then turn around and try to take one of those pups and use it for a service dog. 9 times out of 10. I'm gonna say 8 times out of 10. But you can achieve this. Even like you look at band dogs, they're almost making it seem like you can't breed dogs that are alert and protective and then have them out. But we know that's not true. We see a lot of protection dogs that are out. We see kids petting police dogs that have done protection or bite work and things like that. So it's really full of a lot of propaganda. But then there was also a statement on a post by Tone Roldan. Tone Roldan, I want to say, is the producer of Shots Fired. Shots Fired is owned by Joel Bay. And Shots Fired is one of my favorite dogs in the American Bully community. A little more mass than what I think I want, but he's still a great specimen and a great representation of the American Bully, especially at the standard height. Now, as far as the XL, I would probably like a little more leg length. But for a standard, to me, Shots Fired is one of the best dogs that's out there. And we're slowly watching the dogs move to a more bulldogish look. And Shots Fired is a grand champion. So this is the look. Now, these are dogs that are grand champions, and more newer champions that we're seeing. And if you look at them, you can see there's a lot more bulldogs. Some of them are great looking dogs, like forget the breed. They're just good looking dogs. And then others, you have to say, okay, why does it look like that? It looks like that because it's a pocket bully, and you have to start making exceptions for how it looks. So don't roll down. And I have a lot of respect for him as a breeder, accomplishing the look that he is looking for and achieving that look to obtain the goals that he is looking for. But he made a post where it was American Staffordshire, beautiful dog. And apparently he was a champion. I'm not sure what registry it was, but he made the post, and the dog that he was posting was an Amstaff that belonged to a Christine, but he posted, Christine's Amstaff Broadway. Broadway was the dog's name. Christine's Amstaff Broadway is turning into a real specimen. So many people want their American Bullies doing things Amstaffs do, but why not get an Amstaff? It's an awesome breed with all the drive and athleticism you want. You can still show conformation and do all the dog sports you want. Christine has this boy doing all kinds of stuff outside of conformation, like dock diving, fast cat. Fast dock diving, you guys know, is when their dog runs off the dock for a lure to see how fast they jump into a pool of water. Fast cats, when they're chasing they time the dogs chasing the lure going around. Usually it's around a circled area, or it might just be one long straight sprint. So he says, confirmation like dock diving, fast cat, agility, and working on protection. So these are all the things her dog is doing. But then, which is great. But then he finishes it with, get a dog that suits what you like, and don't try to change a breed or complain about one that doesn't. So I'm going to read that again. He says, get a dog that suits what you like, and don't try to change a breed or complain about one that doesn't. So here's my problem. Again, we're looking at rhetoric, we're looking at propaganda. If you look at the dogs that he posted, again, these mostly are dogs that could not function in any of the sports that he named. A couple of them, their stomachs are almost touching the ground and they're standing on all fours. So you know they can't perform in these type of athletic events. There's not too much you can expect for them other than to be yard ornaments. You let it out in the yard, it could stand around, pee, shit, and then it's time to bring it back out inside, especially if it's over 80 degrees. My question is, though, because the post was liked by Dave Wilson. Now, Dave Wilson years ago said that we needed to get back into the bully being more athletic, being more agile. And then somehow we have faded away from that. The ABKC standard used to say that the dog should be powerful, that it should be agile. They removed that from the standard. They've actually removed all expectations for the ability of the dog from the standard, and now it just focuses on looks. The UKC, which is an older breed, probably has a better understanding of dogs, left in their standard for the American Bully that the dog should be able to perform and compete, not just have a look to it. It should have an ability. So they cover the temperament, they cover the ability by saying it should be able to perform and compete, and then they cover the look when they go through the written standard. The ABKC has totally removed ability from the standard. So one of the things is when he says so many people want their American Bully doing things Amstaffs do, but why? Let's stop at but why. I never expected my band dog to be able to do what my bull lurcher was able to do. No way Floyd was going to be as fast as Kayla. Kayla was part greyhound. It was impossible for it to happen. And I never expected when hunting my Jack Russell to be able to keep up with my band dog. Never expected these things to be able to take place. Never expected her to be as fast. Although the three of them still hunted together. They lived in the house together. We would take them to dog parks. Well, Floyd could not go to any dog parks or dog beaches. He was extremely animal aggressive, except for with those two dogs and Cardi Bull. But the bull lurcher, the Jack Russell, were both capable of going to dog parks, being around strangers. They got along with everybody. Jack Russell was a little more iffy, but the bull lurcher got along with everybody. You never met her. If you took her to a cafe or anything and you were sitting there, she would just sit there playing. You would have no idea that just 3 days ago, she killed a coyote, killed a raccoon, was chasing down bobcats. You would have no idea. She was an extremely calm dog. That is what we should be breeding for. Not breeding for a dog that can't do those things. And that's what I don't understand with the bully community, why we're so focused on limiting these dogs and making them, when it's all said and done, lesser of a dog. So then he says, why not get an Amstaff? Amstaffs do, and the thing is that Amstaffs, pit bulls, German shepherds, Rottweilers, they all do what dogs do. What we're trying to do when we get from breed to breed is limit it or take it even further, have them excel at it. I don't need Aziz to have the nose of a bloodhound or a beagle. You know what I'm saying? And I don't need a bloodhound or a beagle to have the protective instincts of my American bullies. So what we're doing is we're trying to get, people are starting to create a narrative on Facebook that is solely to their circle of friends and people, but it has nothing to do with dogs. It has to do with them. And I think as we as breeders are watching, especially when we're on Facebook, we have to be aware of it, that it can't just be all about looks and bone. Otherwise, the dog at some point is going to fall apart. if you don't have a balance with ability. Like I've always said, form follows function, function follows purpose, purpose follows the breeder. Forget the last two parts. If form follows function, then and we erase function, all we're dealing with is form. What we're dealing with is a blob. You're just dealing with a blob. It's not even water inside of a glass. It's just a puddle. That's what we're looking at. And when you look in the American bully community, you see it. A lot of dogs. Shout out to Andre Smith, but like he said from BGK, like he said, they just look like melting ice cream. That shouldn't be something that we're aiming for. We shouldn't be trying to figure out how ice cream melting in our hands is something that's cute or something that people want. As long as we can trick them into this is something that's good. We have to get away from that type of rhetoric that is going on within the community. But when he says, why not get an AM staff? We don't need to get an AM staff. We just need to get a dog. Dogs have certain things that they do. As we spoke of last week, you divide dogs into three categories: their temperament, their ability, and their look, their conformation, structure, etc., color, all size, all that fits into the look category. He then says it's an awesome breed with all the drive and enthusiasm you want. That's what he's saying about the AM staff. But when he says with all the drive and athleticism you want, when he says drive, what drives is he talking about? Because as we've discussed, and a lot of you have learned here, is that drive is a plural word. There are multiple drives that make up the temperament. Each of those drives has a different threshold within them. That's what separates each breed. The Rottweiler has a higher protection drive than the Golden Retriever. The Golden Retriever will have a higher hunting and retrieving drive than the Rottweiler. They'll both retrieve, though. They will both protect if bred correctly to be dogs and not just their breed. They will both also protect. But one's threshold in the protection drive is 10 times higher. A Rottweiler is going to be medium high to high. Golden Retriever's protection drive is going to be low. You might get a low to medium, but pretty much you're not going to get a medium usually from a Golden Retriever, although I have come across some. So when he says awesome breed with all the drive and athleticism you want about the AM staff, and he's saying this to bully breeders, basically saying quit trying to get drive and athleticism in the bully, because you can just get an AM staff and it has all the drive and athleticism you want. But when you're telling me this, what drives are you talking about? Otherwise, if you can't name them, I don't want to hear you tell me what drives that you assume or think that I want, because all I'm expecting any breed to do is be a dog. We see Frenchies doing doing bite work, and some do protection. We see pockets running agility courses. We see Excels doing the same thing. Brittany Burns, there's a few others. Heather with Oily Drop Bullies. You see her with her dogs. They're doing the diving. Brittany Burns, they're doing hog catching. So if you don't want the look that enables your dog to catch a hog, or your dog to basically meaning that you want a more narrow dog, a lesser bone dog, then that's fine, because guess what? Breeds have to have a variety of looks so that they have a variety of genetics. And that's something that the American bully community is somehow missing. Even when you listen, they'll see a lean or a narrow, more built American bully. We know it's an American bully. Oh, that's just a pit bull. Well, it's not just a pit bull. You don't see Rottweiler breeders looking at a more thinner Rottweiler and saying, oh, that's just a Doberman. This mentality only exists in the American bully community. He says you can, if you get and then when he says, and it has the drive and athleticism you want, I think when he says drive, he's talking about energy. But energy just shows in action. It doesn't just show in action. It also shows in thought and cognition. And we know that the mind follows the body, the mind follows the body, and the body follows the mind. Whichever one moves first, the rest is going to follow, the other will follow. So if we're lowering the energy in the mind, if we're lowering and by breeding a stockier, thicker, more extreme dog, we have to admit that we're doing that to the mind also. We're going to breed a less intelligent dog. Very few, even if you pay attention to English bulldogs, we know the English bulldog is a dog that was created off of deformity on top of deformity on top of deformity. And we finally got them to live a decent life as long as they didn't do too much. But then if you notice, the more able, the more capable English bulldogs, guess what they tend to have over their counterparts? A little more leg length, a little more athleticism. They also tend to be the ones that are a little more intelligent, have a higher cognition level. So again, when it comes to nature, and even humans, the only difference between us is we do have a lot of more ability to think outside the box. But nature, the mind follows the body, and the body follows the mind, and dogs will always be captive in that. So my question is, why can't the American bully do these things? Why would we want to take a breed from pit bulls and Amstaffs, and then we took it to various bulldogs, American bulldog, English bulldog, Alapaha, oldie bulldog, and then we took it to various mastiffs. The Rottweiler, which for some reason American bully breeders don't like to admit, but the Rottweiler, the Cane Corso, Presa Canarios, the French bulldog, all these different mastiffs that we crossed. We took all these working breeds, and then we said, now we want to create. And at first, in the 90s, the 2000s, we wanted capable American bullies. We were proud of that. Somehow we got into the last 10 years, and there's this pride on a dog that can't do anything. That's just a yard ornament. And my question is why? And when you guys get, especially on Facebook, we need to tap into that. And why do we want it to go that direction? But at last, he says, Christine has this boy doing all kinds of stuff outside of conformation, like dock diving, fast cat agility, and working on protection. So again, why will we turn a dog into something that can't do these things, or worse, eventually will lack the desire to do these things? He then says, get a dog that suits what you like, and don't try to change a breed or complain about one that doesn't. So again, my thing is, how do we create the American bully? We did it by taking a bunch of breeds together and changing that. And if the argument is, okay, well, we didn't change those breeds, we use those breeds to create a new one. Then my question would be, then why change the species? Because it's coming off like we've got a lot of people in the American bully community that don't really like dogs. They like the look of a dog. They like the shell of a dog. They like what it feels to get ribbons from a dog. They like what it feels to brag about how much the dog weighs. All that has to do with the humans. The problem is we have a lot of American bully people, American bully breeders that don't really like dogs. And they just want the image. They want the stuffed animal. They want the model of it. They don't want the real thing. They're willing to clean up the poop. They're willing to feed it, take care of it. But in between there, they want a dog that doesn't do anything, that is almost built to stay in kennels. And not just built physically, but also built mentally. If that's the case, I'm thinking these people need to get out of dogs and get into guinea pigs, goldfish, hedgehogs, things like that, where you can just keep them in this nice little spot. They're not going to move anywhere. You clean the tank out and then you move on. Give it a name. It may or may not respond to it, because at this point, we've reached a point where we don't really concern. And even when you go, so it's like at some point, we have to respect the species, because a lot of, for instance, we know that for the last 200 years, we created the show ring. Dogs became pets. There was less involvement in physical activity and less focus on ability. In that period, we have created 200 new diseases. That's basically, so you figure 200 years, 200 years of domestication has led to and actually, I take that back. It's 400 new diseases that we have going on with dogs. So that's every year, another two diseases come as these dogs become more and more domesticated into the goals that we are aiming for, regardless of what choices we're making to get there. Even when it comes to, breeding dogs that can't breed naturally, breeding dogs that can't give birth naturally. Nature's gonna punish that breed. Breeding dogs with an underbite. If you don't create a balance. When you look at the English bulldog, they have a lot of problems coming from that, having the things that went into creating that underbite, that mutation. But when you look at the American bulldog, and even in the Johnson, they have a slight underbite. You look at the boxer. To counter that and balance things out, we made sure we had a dog that was athletic, that had a lot of ability. And therefore, it counters it, and nature basically says, okay, we're going to let you slide. Well, I don't like that underbite. We're going to let you slide. Since you did create an athletic dog, we're going to give you a pass on that one. We're going to let him live just as long as the Doberman, the German Shepherd, the Chihuahua, etc. So I think that's something we have to really think about. I also think that is something that we need to start speaking up on in the dog community. Because the same people that are pushing for a less functional dog will also turn around and claim that their dogs are functional. And I always say, to keep us honest, function has, it has its dogs that are below that aren't functional. Then it's got its dogs that are functional, and then it's got its dogs that are extreme, like the Greyhound. And you can always judge function just by watching how your dog runs. If your dog is extending its front legs to grab dirt and pull, that means that there's going to be one point in its sprint where it is usually off the ground, and that's when both front legs are going forward, back legs are going back. If that dog is just using its front legs to stop its face and chest from hitting the ground, they're almost just a form of crutches. That's non-functional. And then you start to get worse and worse and worse from there. Functional doesn't also have to do with what you can do. It also has to do with how long you're capable of doing it. Because I can have a hammer, but if I can only use that hammer one time, it's not functional. If I have a saw and I'm going to cut something and I can only use it three slides on the tree bark, that's not functional. So we do need to raise our standards to what we consider functional. Beagle doesn't have to be as functional as the Greyhound because he's focused on his nose. And the Greyhound doesn't have to sniff as much as the Beagle, doesn't have to be able to track animal by scent like the Beagle because he's focused on his speed. But so there's got to be a counter, or there's got to be some type of balance. And when we get away from that, that's just us as humans getting extremely indulgent. And I think we have to be aware of the propaganda and ask ourselves, is there room for balance? There are American bullies that are successful at the events that were stated. There are videos of Dave Wilson where he states that the dogs should be able to participate in those activities. For some reason, we're getting away from that. The show ring has historically preferred a larger, more massive, less functional version of every breed. The Greyhound in the show ring tends to have a little thicker bone, a little taller, a little more muscle than the actual Greyhound that's winning races. The Rottweiler in the show ring tends to have a larger head than the actual Rottweiler that's out there doing true protection work, and is being relied upon, not just participating in the activities, but is actually being relied upon. So the show ring does tend to prefer a larger, less functional specimen, and there's nothing wrong with that, as long as we've got variety out there. It's almost like in music when you're dealing, we just had a big huge battle with Kendrick and Drake. Well, you need both. You need Drake to take it as far to as many people as it can get to, and then you need a Kendrick who is going to keep it true to what it always was supposed to be. Some of those people in those huge masses are never going to get the hip hop aspect of rap.
Just like some of the people that are dealing with dogs are never going to get what makes a dog and the true instincts of a dog, and why we as men, why they say a dog is man's best friend, why they call it a companion. Even the term companion breed, dog is a companion species. There is no such thing as a companion breed. The pit bull, the Belgian Malinois, the Rottweiler, the Golden Retriever, they are all companion breeds. It's a companion species. But when we start to say, okay, well, this is a companion breed and this is not, now what we're doing is we are trying to create something through a falsity that shouldn't be created. You're trying to say, okay, I can't find anything for my dog to do. So I'm, rather than saying my dog is excluded from them, I'm going to try to say they're excluded from my dog. And I think that's what we see in the American Bully breed a lot. So we have to ask ourselves, is there room for balance? Is the American Bully not expected to be capable of anything? Because that seems to be what they're saying, and what was written in the post. And a lot of people had a problem with the post. And the only reason I even brought it up for this live was so that we could get into it, because a lot of people will want me to speak on it. Are people who push the less functional into, and again, are they into the right species? Well, those who push the less functional dog. So these are things that we have to think about when we get into dogs. Again, for those of us who are just owning dogs, you have no interest in breeding or anything like that. You want to do as much with your dogs. I always tell people, you want to take a shortcut. Forget all the books. And there's a lot of great books out there. But you want to take a shortcut to learning and understanding dogs. Leave your dogs at home. Go to a dog park, pen, pad, and take notes on everything you see when it comes to just the dogs and how they're relating to each other, how their ears lift up when they see another dog, how their eyes enlarge, how their pupils dilate, how they lick their lips. Do they come at each other straight on, or do they come at an angle? Because we as humans, we like to say, hey, nice to meet you. Animals don't operate that way. They kind of come, hey, nice to meet you. You get what I'm saying? So do they sniff first, or did they look first? Did they listen first, or did they sniff first? Start taking notes on those things. First time you do it, it's going to look like a mess. What you will notice is the next time you go and you do that, you will all of a sudden start taking more detailed notes, and you will notice things that you didn't notice before. It is one of the smoothest ways to, next best way to learn about, well, the best way to learn about dogs. The truth is, work them. See how they operate when it comes to working them. See how hunting is one of the best. Herding is one of the best. Even protection work is one of the best. Go out there and watch dogs doing those things. But if you don't have that time or that luxury, just go to a dog park. Bring your notepad, a pen, and take notes on what it is you see those dogs doing. When you get home, take notes on the same thing, especially if you have multiple dogs. There's going to be a lot of things that when you get back home from that dog park and you took those notes, you're going to start noticing things within your dogs at home that you really didn't notice before, especially if you have two or more dogs. Take the time to get to learn the species and how it communicates. And then that's when we start to realize we're not a part of the pack. Once you get two or three more, or two or three dogs, we're no longer part of the pack. We can't even communicate with them the same. We're all almost like the elephant and the lion. When the elephant comes, the lion moves out the way. It's kind of the same relationship. The elephant is the dominant species. Not trying to hunt the lion or anything like that, but it's the dominant species. In our household, we're the dominant species. But as humans, and we need to maintain that for our kids' safety and everything like that. But when it comes to once you get once you get two to three dogs and they're living in your house together, you are no longer part of the pack. You may run the pack as the owner, but you are an outsider. Trust me. They're going to be doing things that they never expect you to do. They're going to be communicating in ways that they know you can't, whether it's through their posture, their ear raising. So when you start studying dogs and paying attention to that, pupils dilating, uh, licking the lips, paw posture, back posture, stances. When you start paying attention to those things, now you can't get involved with their communication, but if it goes a direction that you don't like, you can now stop it. And that's where a lot of training and understanding dogs comes into play. So I just wanted to bring that back out. And now next week, we are going to get into actual breeding practices, creating a bloodline. It's those types of things. So I know that's what people want, but I wanted to make sure that before we got into that, that there are some philosophies and understandings that are out there that give those of us who truly respect the species that we call dog. I wanted to make sure that they've got a little bit of ammo in their pocket when they get online and they start to encounter those who want to turn dogs into goldfish. So we're going to keep this one short. Let me check to see if we got any. Let's see here. I didn't know you were, whoops, doing. Yes, I am. Mike, what's up? Thanks for joining in. Yes, I am doing lives on YouTube again. Will be every Tuesday. And so back to the Dog Talk Tuesdays. And so, yeah, we are back. So I didn't know you were doing lives on YouTube again. I'm glad you're back. I hope all is well. I'm doing great, dude. My biggest battle here was we are living in the woods. I mean, we're in a city, don't get me wrong, or a town. So, but we are still in the woods. Like we figure before I was in California, living in Los Angeles, now, or Los Angeles County, we were living in Diamond Bar. Now we are here in Arkansas, and we're in the country. But yeah, everything is going great. Rhodes, what's up, man? Thanks for joining in. Let's see here. That's pretty much it. So we're gonna go ahead and exit out of this one. We're gonna keep it short. Next live will definitely be longer because we are gonna be breaking down the strategies of breeding and starting a kennel. So what dogs to pick, what processes you want to go through. Do you want to create a bloodline or do you not? Some people, I think that breeds are better off when they have bloodline, when the breeders are trying to create bloodlines, because then you start to create consistency and a lot of things that other people can turn to and count on. But there's also nothing wrong with a person that just breeds to just better the dogs. There's nothing wrong with that either. As an outsider looking in, I think the problem lies in the bully being a companion breed, which excuses folks from breeding dogs that can actually function. There you go. It's become an excuse. It is something that they gravitated to extremely quickly. It's like they saw there was this companion category and they just say, yeah, this is a companion breed. Why? Well, the truth is they have very low expectations of what the dog can do. But when it's all said and done, you're telling me my pit bull is a companion breed. My Rottweiler is a companion breed. The entire species is a companion species. So when we start saying that, this is a companion breed and this is not, it's gotten to a point where we're making excuses. There used to kind of be an understanding of a companion breed was, even though that was a bad term to use, there was kind of an understanding that it was a dog that didn't have a purpose, but a lot of those dogs could still do protection and things like that. They were still expected to be a dog. What we've done now is use companion breed as to lower our expectations to where a dog doesn't have to be a dog. And it totally just messes up the breed. Let's see. Vaughn says, you have said before, every dog provides company. There you go. From Watts to Chihuahuas can provide company, but they actually serve a purpose. Being simple companion is not a purpose. And see, and if we go along those lines, I appreciate, let's say, forget these big dogs, forget the dogs that I have, forget protection and all that stuff. If I've got a Chihuahua here, I still expect for it to be alert to what's going on outside the house. Our dogs here, I know when my son or my wife is pulling up from down the road, long before you can hear or see their car. The dogs know it. The dogs in the kennel start barking. That alerts the dogs in the house. The dogs in the house start listening. They say, oh, so-and-so is about to head home. There's also a different bark when it's a UPS truck, a FedEx truck, anybody's truck, anybody's car. The dogs in the inside don't pay attention to the cars driving past. The dogs in the kennels are very alert. Any car driving past here, they're going to bark, even if it's our car. But it's a different type of bark. I want that. To me, that shows intelligence. If we start getting to the point where we say it's a companion breed, and then therefore we lower our expectations of what we expect, you're going to dumb down the dog in your excuse to create bigger, bullier, more bone, lower to the ground. And then once you start getting these dumb dogs, guess what? The word starts spreading. I like those dogs. I like the color of those dogs, but they always seem dumb. Why would we want to bring that type of thought process onto our breed? Why would we not want the average dog enthusiast to also be excited about our breed, the American Bully, which is still fairly new? If I'm into Belgian Malinois, average dog enthusiast doesn't want anything to do with them. Those things have their bite drive is insane. But I don't want to take that out of it. I just need to train that out of it. I need to condition that out of it. I need to give it outlets for that. So that way, if I want to bring the Belgian Malinois to Starbucks, you can do that. And I've seen multiple Belgian Malinois at Starbucks, but that's because the owner took the time to train them, not breed them to be more guinea pig than dog. And I think that's what we're missing. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to end this live. Do remember, do what's best for your dogs mentally and physically. Mind follows body, body follows the mind. And breeders, remember, form follows function, function follows purpose, and purpose follows the breeder. So don't just breed to better the breed. Use your breed to make a better dog. And then that's how we get what's best. All right, I'll see you guys again next Tuesday. We are out.